The fact that in the past few years, EFCC has continued to unilaterally remove the heads of the NFIU is a clear indication that it is not autonomous. D, the need for high-level confidentiality in the conduct of NFIU cannot be guaranteed as is currently constituted. E, inadequate funding is hindering the implementation of the core functions of the NFIU, as no separate budgetary provisions have been made for it in the EFCC budget. Even the effort we made, the EFCC refused to follow up on that because they don't want the independence of this body. 13. In practical terms, the question is whether Nigeria really has a financial intelligence unit. Strictly speaking, we do not have a FIU, as what is currently in existence is an EFCC department, glorified as FIU. 14. It is important to point out that the reason why FATF prescribes for an independent FIU is to maintain checks and balances and prevent the manipulation of financial intelligence. For Nigeria to meet the standards of FATF and Egmont, the NFIA must have the following powers as set out in the bill. A. Powers to receive disclosures from reporting entities such as banks, capital market operators, insurance companies, and the broad exchange relating to suspicious transactions and other reports such as currency transaction reports and custom declarations.
The recent phase in the amendment of the Constitution appears to be running into troubled waters as some federal lawmakers are not on board with some of the areas up for amendment. Some of them feel that issues like local government autonomy and 35% affirmative action are very controversial and require further consultations with their constituencies. Our correspondent Linda Akigbe reports.
As early as 10:15 a.m., senators begin trickling into the Senate chamber to vote on the areas up for amendment in the Constitution. But the Senate leadership postpones the vote to the following day to join their colleagues in the House of Representatives, also scheduled to vote on the same day. Senators instead begin a debate on the parts of the Constitution slated for amendment. Some of the key highlights of the amendments are local government autonomy, independent candidacy, setting a time frame within which the President or Governor shall forward to the Senate or State House of Assembly names of ministerial nominees or commissioners and attachment of the portfolios of the nominees. The reduction of the age qualification for the offices of President, Senate and House of Representatives was widely supported.
That when you look at the requirement for age for such offices across the world, the lower house and the provincial house usually is 25. And the argument is, if you are old enough to die for your country, you ought to be old enough to hold office in your country.
However, lawmakers want a second look at the amendments seeking local government autonomy.
Where local government elections are not conducted, allocations will be seized from going to the local governments concerned. So I would suggest that we go further here to say that any state that violates this, the allocation to the state itself should be stopped. Not only the local government, even the allocation to the state should be withdrawn, withheld until the state conducts the compliance with the local government election.
I want to move a motion that we, in the consideration of these amendments, have additional clause and bill to amend the relevant section of the Constitution whereby INEC will conduct local government elections.
Some lawmakers are not on board with the constitutional amendment seeking 35% affirmative action for women. A lawmaker from the Niger Delta voiced his disapproval over the exclusion of fiscal federalism from this phase of constitution amendment.
In the same thing now, if you say 35% must be women, Mr. President, as I'm talking to you today, statistics are showing that women outnumbered men as we are talking today. A day will come, it is just a question of if and not when women will take over in almost all stratas of everything. Then what are we going to do that day, when that day comes? I think the whole of this section is not quite necessary. As we are today, women are very well represented.
Federal lawmakers in both chambers are scheduled to vote on Wednesday, July 26th on the different clauses up for amendment. But it would be interesting to see how this would go down on Wednesday, as some lawmakers are not on board with some parts up for amendment, and what the implication of this would be on the overall process of amending the Constitution. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.